Hey guys, I'm interviewing one of my good friends, Boba Master. He live streams.
Hey,
He live
on
streams. He
Twitch,
has a YouTube channel.
twitch.tv/Bobamastertea.
Yep.
Uh,
Both of those should be linked in the description of this video if you're watching on my channel. I'm not sure about if you're watching on his channel. Uh, but yeah,
if you're
basically I'm
watching on
gonna
my
do.
channel, down below you'll see Waffles channel.
Well, yeah, I meant
Waffle.
more like for your Twitch channel and stuff. But
Oh
so
yeah, it'll probably be linked in my YouTube page somewhere.
Right. A little while back, I recorded an interview with Spikevine, and basically, this is a very similar idea, except I'm doing it with Boba Master now.
Hey,
So,
yep,
gonna ask
yeah,
him some questions.
yeah,
If you want, we can just get started now.
yeah.
Unless you
Sure,
want to
let's
say
get into
something
it.
else. If you want to, like, introduce yourself to the people.
Oh yeah, sure. I'm Boba Master T. If you don't already know me from other videos on Waffles channel. I stream on Twitch. I have recently been trying to get into YouTube. So, yeah, if you want to go check me out, and maybe if you like what you see, subscribe. I think that's it.
Alright. So, first question. Pretty simple one.
Mm.
How long have you played video games for?
Um, oh man, I started playing video games very young, like when I was like maybe like five yeah, around five, probably four
Do
or
you
five.
remember what the first games you started playing were?
That's an interesting one. So the first game I ever played, I uh, uh it was like a strategy type game online, but I don't remember it too
Like
much. The
like
game
a
that I
Fire Emblem
remember,
style game, or
yeah, kinda.
all right,
But I don't remember it too much. The game that I truly remember playing, and this was still back when I like very first started playing video games, was actually Bad Piggies. If you don't know what that is, it's like a tablet or mobile game that
I
used to
mean, but do
exist.
mobile games really
Where
count?
I played it on the tablet. It wasn't really that
Ah,
much on mobile.
loophole.
They added it on mobile later. It was on tablet in the beginning.
All right.
But yeah,
So
pretty
what's
young.
do you have like a favorite game genre, like style of game, or
Uh, I do like strategy games a lot because I just like to be able to like uh strategize what to do in certain ways to get out the best income for me.
what type of
And
strategy
yeah.
games? Like there's like Legend of Zelda style like puzzle solving. There's like Fire Emblem, which is sort of like kind of like chess, and then there's also like stuff
Um,
like Pikmin, where it's like real time strategy. So like, where more
yeah,
so
yeah,
are you
yeah.
talking about?
So a while ago, I don't play this game too much anymore, but I still play it with uh some people still. Is StarCraft 2. It's a pretty big strategy game that you play. You basically place your build structures around this spot, and then you create units, and then you go to the other person's base and
All right.
destroy them.
So like more like
So
real
yeah,
time strategy.
yeah.
All right. All right.
But
Do
I
you have
also like. Sorry, go ahead.
do you have a favorite game?
Uh, at the moment, I think it's probably gonna be like, I know it's probably pretty basic, but like Minecraft, just because been playing it so often.
I mean, Minecraft is pretty timeless. So
Yeah.
all right. All right. Um. All right. I gotta be honest here. I left some notes for myself. One of these notes literally just says reason why, and I don't know what that means. I left
Well,
very
okay.
vague
What
notes.
is what type of games do you like to play?
This is supposed to be an interview with you. You're answering the questions here, okay?
Okay. Well,
Okay.
I
So
didn't know
I'm
I was
gonna
in the
take a
hot seat.
guess. I'm gonna take a guess at what I meant. Why do you like playing video games? That sounds like a dumb question, which is why I don't think that's what I meant, but that's my best guess.
Uh, why do I like playing video games? I guess, I just ever since I was young, I really enjoyed playing video games and maybe it's not for everybody, but I don't know. I guess the first time I played video games really got me into it and then it just grew with years of time.
Alright, alright. Now gonna be some more controversial, hard-hitting questions. So, first
Okay.
one, violence in video games. So some people are say like video games cause violence and all these school shooters
Yeah,
shoot
yeah,
up the
yeah, yeah.
schools because they play DDR too much. Do you have any
Yeah,
thoughts on this subject?
what I personally think, and everybody's entitled to their own opinion, but what I personally think is that uh, the parents of the children who are misbehaving are putting it on something else that when it's really either their fault or just their kids acting out or some other reason. Because I feel like
So you're saying you
video
don't think
games,
video games cause people to be more violent?
yes, I do not. Because, I feel like it's the same as saying, oh, anything else could be you could say anything else is violent, and I feel like it would be the same thing as saying video games are violent because I feel like video games don't provoke that.
So you think it's more so just people trying to blame other people or other things besides themselves? Mostly
Yeah,
parents?
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Alright, alright. Alright. So, esports. Um,
Yeah.
do you think there's a bit of debate, a bit controversial, hot water here? Do they count as sports? Why or why not?
You know, uh, the way I see it, I say it doesn't count as sports because I feel like sports is the type of thing you have to go out and do something active, and I feel like if you're sitting there playing a video game, it shouldn't really count
All right,
as
I've
a sport.
I've got to disclose my bias here. I actually feel quite strongly that most people on this topic are wrong, and that video games should indeed count as sports. So I'm going to challenge you a bit on this. Most people
Really?
like to say you need to be active and stuff. I would say you do
Okay.
not need to be super physically active for sports, especially depending on what you count as a sport. For example, bowling and golf are both counted by sports by most people, and you don't need to be the most physically active. You can be fairly large and play
Mm,
golf or bowling. There's also a bunch of other things: fishing, hunting, bobsledding. You don't need to run 10 miles a day to do most of those things, and most people
okay.
count those as sports. So,
Okay. I see your point. Um, I can see where you're coming from. The way I see it is I think it's just this stigma because so many people have thought that nerds play video games and geeks play video games and not people who are very active. And a lot of people say the reason they say video games aren't sports is because of the stigma of so many people for so long have been saying oh, video games are for nerds and people who aren't very active and people who don't do sports. And so I think the stigma really just gets in there.
all right,
So
well
I do
then,
see where it's coming from.
then the next question should be fairly obvious. Is that why you said that just a second ago? You said that video games don't count as sports. Did you say it because of that?
I can't lie. I think a part of it was that. I think
All right, all right.
you got another question for
I
me?
thought you were still talking, but
No, no,
you
no,
don't have anything else to say?
no.
All right. Yeah, I would actually say that video games. I would say like a while back when it was just like some guy playing Mario Brothers in his basement. I would say that actually
Yeah.
doesn't count as sport. The reason I think they count as sports now is because there's a high level of competition. Like in most sports, right? You need to be very high level to be able to
Okay.
be at the
So
top.
you, so
Um,
the way you decline sports is if there's high competition.
I think there's a few ways you can define it. It's difficult because there's a lot of really out there sports. Like I said, there's like if you just do physical activity, there's a bunch of sports that don't get included, like bowling and golf. So I feel like a good way to categorize sports, at least that I thought of, is high level of competition to some degree.
Okay.
Um, there also needs to be some skill involved, whether that's physical activity or dexterity or something else, right? You can't just like a beginner is not going to be anywhere near as good as someone who's been doing it for a really long time. And the third thing that I think is important because right now this is a very broad category. Like right now with those two, cleaning your house could be counted as a sport. So there doesn't need to be a third category, and I think the third category is there needs to be an audience for it. I feel like if there's an audience that's willing to pay money to watch people do it, then it should count as a
Okay.
sport. And because esports
Yeah,
can
and
fill
there's
out
things like
stadiums,
PAX. Yeah, there's things like PAX and esports and
yeah,
stuff like that.
esports can like fill out stadiums. So that's why I would argue that esports count as a sport, and I would say anything that can fit in that of those three categories should be counted as a sport. I think that's a pretty good definition.
Okay. I see where you're coming from.
All right, all right. Um. Oh, all right. Another bit of a controversial question. So
Okay, okay. Getting deep down in it. I
not as
like it.
controversial as the last one, I don't think though. So uh, this one is about Nintendo consoles. This is a little bit of
Mm,
an old story, but people have been complaining about Joy Cons busting up. I'm not sure if you've heard this. There's like Joy Cons are drifting and whatnot.
mm-hmm.
Where like basically the joystick is moving even though you're not pressing it in a direction. And
Mm-hmm.
people are mad about that, partially because it means they have to buy more Joy Cons and they're like $60, but
Mm-hmm.
partially because Nintendo has a record of having consoles that can withstand a lot, right? There's all sorts of YouTube videos online of like people smashing like GameCubes with hammers and they still work. There's like a famous Game Boy that got blown up by a grenade and it still functions. And so
Okay.
Nintendo kind of has like this history of like being really good at making durable systems. I would say probably at least in part because they're more so marketed towards smaller children and they don't want their Wii to bust the first time they spill orange juice on it. But
Yeah.
Nintendo's got sort of a reputation, and they're not fully living up to that reputation. And there's also been a few other things Nintendo has done recently that have pissed people off. So, a lot of people are starting to think because Nintendo is becoming so dominant, even over the other big competitors like Xbox and PlayStation, people are saying that Nintendo is starting to slack a little bit because they don't really need to try that hard anymore. And they know even if they do fall behind a bit, people are still going to buy their products no matter what. So I just want to get your thoughts on that whole situation.
Okay. Well, my opinion is that I think that you're right. Maybe Nintendo is. I can see where Nintendo might be slacking a little bit. Might not be trying as hard because they're so big and people are gonna buy their products anyways. But honestly, there's been big companies that produced video games and stuff like that. I feel like that were known pretty popular, and then their stuff got a little bit worse over time, and then people just stopped using it. So I think Nintendo kind of has to watch out, because if they are doing it and this isn't just like a flaw in the middle, then I feel like they have to watch out, because they could be going down a path where their stuff slowly gets worse and people stop buying from them.
I mean, but do you have any specific examples of what you're talking about, though? Because I can't think of any companies that are as big as, like, modern day Nintendo that have gone under
I wouldn't
because
say
they just.
as big. I wouldn't say as big, but I feel like e- even if it is, even if Nintendo's as big as it is, I feel like if your products start to worsen, then more and more people don't want to buy from your company anyways, and eventually you get enough people then that tell other people that they shouldn't buy, and then it's a whole circle. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I'm asking specifically, do you have any examples of what you're talking about? About big companies that went under because they weren't producing top quality?
I guess not necessarily, no.
Alright? Alright then.
I just like
Uh,
I've heard of it. I've like heard of companies that like made games, and
I mean,
then
really, the
their
only company I can
quality
think of that's
fell.
similar to that is, I mean, there's obviously smaller game companies that don't do as well, but that's because they're so much smaller. The only one I can think
Yeah.
of that would be similar to what you're referring to is Sega, but they stopped producing consoles, but they still produce games, and also they sort of stopped producing consoles because Nintendo kind of pushed them out of the market. So,
Mm.
all right.
Okay.
So next question.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on game trends? So, like, the games that are really popular and then stop being popular. I'm talking like Among Us or Fall Guys
Okay.
or
Okay.
whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
games that
Yeah.
are really popular, everyone's playing them, and then a month later, people are like, Fall Guys who?
I think this is what I think is, it's just like that's kind of how the internet works, honestly, is like pretty much everywhere. It's not even just video games, is things like go up. For example, memes is um a really big example of that, because there could be a meme that's like really popular, and everybody knows it, and then all of a sudden it's not as popular because a new meme comes up, and then everybody goes to that meme. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's not even just video games, because I see what you're saying, like Among Us and Fortnite and Fall Guys, and those are all ones where they were really popular and then they weren't as much, and then a different game got popular, and it just continues. I feel like that's everything on the internet.
Alright, so you think it's more so just internet culture, how it moves so fast, and you can't really have anything
Yeah.
stay stationary for a very long time?
Yeah, I think that things people get bored very easily on the internet, because there's just so much, and the internet moves so fast that something else pops up, people get really into that one, and then the old one kind of just fades off into the distance, just like all the other ones behind that.
Alright, alright. Do you have maybe any theories on what makes these games popular in the first place?
I think it's a mixture of things. I think part of it is probably just uh chance luck, that a lot of people happen to go upon it and they got popular. I think sometimes the quality isn't bad. The quality's normally good on most of the games that are that popular. Yeah.
Alright, alright. So some people would actually attribute like the fall of some of these games to lack of updates. So for example, Fall Guys wasn't really expecting to get popular, So when they did, they didn't really update the game a whole bunch. And once they started updating it more because it was popular, it wasn't popular anymore. Do you think maybe that has a contributing factor?
Honestly, I don't really think it does. I think it's more of the fact that a different game comes up and then everybody flocks to that one and the old game just gets left behind.
So,
Less of the
so you
updates
think even
because
if
there's
you think like even if it updated pretty consistently well, it was popular. Even then, it would eventually just
because
not be as
like
popular anymore.
there's games that have updated pretty actively and still that's happened. Like for example, Fortnite is a really big example because they add so much stuff all the time. Like even now I can see online for ads and stuff. They're adding like basketball and different stuff to
But
and musicians and different stuff to Fortnite.
the thing is, you could argue that Fortnite didn't fall really as much as those other games. Like it's still somewhat popular even today.
I feel like it's still what popular, but I feel like it definitely fell a lot. I feel like it didn't fall too much, like completely, because some of the younger children started playing on it, and then other people didn't really want to play with younger children. So then most of the older people left, but I feel like it's still a little bit popular due to the fact that the younger children are still playing it a little bit.
All right, all right. Next question: streaming tips. So you live stream.
I
Um,
do, I do.
do you have any advice or tips for people who are looking to start live streaming?
That's actually a really good question just because when for example when I first started I knew like nothing. I had to look a lot online, try and find stuff, and I couldn't find like everything to very much help me. Like I found some stuff, but it was kind of repetitive about the stuff that I saw before. So this is actually a really good question for anybody who's actually trying to go into live streaming. Um yeah, I mean, I'd say try and find your stream your recording or streaming like app. For example, I use Streamlabs OBS, but there's also OBS, which is very popular, and a bunch of others. And
Real
then
quick, real quick. Could you maybe explain a bit of differences between those?
yeah, sure. Streamlabs OBS. Okay, so OBS is a bit more complicated, and it's really good. But like when I first started, I tried to use OBS instead of Streamlabs OBS, and I couldn't go completely because the way they format it is a bit more complicated. It is better in the long run, I think, is what a lot of more popular streamers say. But I use Streamlabs OBS still just because I have everything set up there, and I feel like the way they format it is nice for you to. If you're starting off, it'd probably be best to use Streamlabs OBS. That answer your question?
Yeah, yeah. And is there anything else about streaming
Yeah.
or?
So, yeah. It's definitely a grind. So you gotta continue working at it, continue live streaming, and eventually you'll get people start chatting and different stuff. And I say, yeah, just keep adding to it, trying to promote your stuff as much as you can. Maybe work with other people that you know. Rating is a good way to find other people to stream with because you raid them and then they see your content, you see their content, stuff like that.
All right, all right. Is there any game? So earlier I asked you about game types that you enjoy, but is there any like game styles that you don't enjoy so much?
Um, game styles that I don't enjoy. That's a good question. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely games that I don't enjoy too much. I like a lot of game design choices and designs and styles, so I do, it's not too many, but for example, uh janky movement systems and stuff like that. So like if you're moving and you're trying to jump over something or something like that and it's being really janky and you can't do the thing that it's programmed to let you do or forward the mission or something like that, sometimes that can be very annoying.
I mean, yeah, but I feel like that's most people who think that. I mean more um, like genres of games that you just don't really enjoy that much.
Genres of games that I don't really enjoy much. Uh game I don't I don't know. I don't have too many actually. I mean, mobile games definitely is one of those that most mobile games they add too much ads and stuff like that, and it's just a pain and it's not worth it. But other than that, which I don't think that's what you're looking for, I don't I mostly can most games are pretty fine.
All right, all right.
Genres of games.
Are there any specific games that you've played where you played the game and you're just like, this is really bad?
Um I feel like there is. I guess okay. There's oh, it's kind of hard because like I've played so many games and I feel like it's hard to think of any off the top of my head. I guess I'm not a huge fan of like I try and stay away from like gunner type thing, first person shooters type things like Counter Strike and Apex and Call of Duty Black Ops, I think it's called or something. I try and stay away from those because it's not really my favorite game style. I like more like calm games or more like do it with friends or stuff like that. I'm not a huge fan of like going out with like 100 people and you have to fight your way to the top type things. You know what I mean?
All right, all right. Um, all right. Yeah, I think that's probably most of the questions I had. Uh, anything you would like to say to close off?
Uh, yeah, go. If you're at Waffles channel, go sub there. If you're at my channel, go down in the link in the description. Go to Waffles channel and sub to him because he's cool and he makes cool videos. If you can go check him out. And if you like what you see, maybe sub to me too. I don't know. I think that's it.
All right, all right. Well, uh,
Cool.
thanks for doing this interview.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Love to. Thanks for having me.